Hello and welcome to Transcendental Transformation, the place where spirituality and transformation unite. Host Miss Raina imparts truth so that you can break through your limiting beliefs and evolve into a deeper consciousness. As you go about your day, remember, before every breakthrough, there is a breakdown. And now, let's start the show.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Transcendental Transformation. I'm your host, Miss Raina, and today is Tuesday, September 27, 2022. As always, we're coming live from the Sirius Star System studios right here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I hope all is well with everybody. So, sorry about that. If you guys were watching live, we just had a couple of hiccups where I guess what ended up happening was crazy this week. So, for some reason, my computer decided to have an error on it for something I don't even know, and I had to wipe everything clean. So all my settings, everything was just gone. So I've been working all week long to get this up and running, and apparently all the configurations were still there. So hopefully I sound clear. Hopefully everything, all the pictures, everything's good, but if not, we're going to restart and try it all over again. So anyways, big news, obviously, if you guys are down in Florida or the southeast coast of the United States, we have Hurricane Ian, and that is hitting us right now. It's going to make landfall tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., but over at Sarasota, I believe, it's Category 3, so we're getting the outer bands. It's been raining all day here, dumping water like crazy. My backyard is so flooded, it's not even funny. My fire pit is full of water, so that's probably going to rust out. I'm probably going to have to replace it, but if that's the least of the damages I incur, that'll be great. But anyways, guys, so yeah, anybody that's in the Sarasota area, hopefully, you guys are safe and everything like that. As always, whenever these storms hit, even though it's not a Category 4 or 5, you still got to prepare, because there's a lot of people don't know that it's actually a lot of the tornadoes that happen inside of a hurricane that do a lot of the damage to a lot of properties and people and trees and everything like that. You don't really realize that if you've never been in a hurricane, but there's a lot of tornadoes that happen. So let's hope for everyone's safety and hope that this passes and dissolves pretty soon. All right, everybody, tonight is the last of the show for the next couple weeks. It is the end of Season 8. I know we usually end the season in the beginning of summer, but between being sick so long and so many things going on, we just figured, okay, we're going to take a 2-week break and then be back for Season 9. I'm so excited. It's going to be October 18th. I can't believe it's been 9 years. Technically, it's been over 10, but, due to all the stuff that's gone in my life, we've had to shorten a couple of seasons, but I'm excited. We got a lot of new shows for you coming up, and, it's just, thank you guys so much for always being a part of the ride. As always, guys, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, DLive, and the replays will be on the Facebook links. So I think that's where they are. You know what? Things have changed so much over the last couple of it just who knows where everything's at anymore. Anyways, just go to our Facebook page and the links are in there, I'm sure. So, all right, everybody. Tonight we are going to talk. We're going to do part 3 of the nutrition and supplement, because there are so many things we wanted to go over, and so many things that that you guys need to know in order, because health is a big issue in this country, and I don't know where you're listening from, if you're listening from another country or not, but in our country, the United States, we have a major health problem. We are number 1 in diabetes, number 1 in cancer, number 1 in heart disease, and we are just a very sick, ill country. And even if you're not the skinniest person in the world, or your body isn't geared towards that, that's okay. You can still take care of yourself. You can still pump the proper nutrition and just try to maintain your body as much as you can. We don't have to be all physically fit and look like a model in order for us to be healthy, but this is so important to us because a lot of people don't understand, and if don't understand what they're putting into their body. Some people, hey, you just don't care. I get it. You're gonna die of something, right? That's the excuse that I always hear. But for those of us who cherish our body, those of us who cherish our life and realize that our body is our temple, and it's the quality of life. I'd rather have a quality life, even if it's shorter than a quantity life. I don't want to be stuck, I have been stuck for 3 years now. It's going to be 3 years coming up in January, and not being able to do anything. And I'm finally starting to get on my feet doing more things, but still, I just don't want to, I just, but that's my personal thing. But if you're like me and you want to be healthy and you want to start learning, one of the biggest things that we have to do is learn to educate ourselves, especially on label reading. We have to know what's going on. We have to sacrifice convenience for quality, so it's nice that we have microwaves and all these quick things, tear in a bag, just pop it in a microwave and have it cook. You could have instant rice in 5 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever it is now. You can go on, see fast food on every corner, but again, you're going to be sacrificing quality of food and health for food over convenience. And to me, I'd rather put something in a toaster oven or or reheat something on a pan. Sure, it's going to take a few more minutes than it would in a microwave. But again, and we're going to get into microwaves later, but my food isn't dead. There's no radiation, etc. We have a higher quality of food. I know what's going into my food, and this makes all the difference, because remember that what you feed your body is what you're going to feed your cells and all the organs and tissues and blood and everything that needs your body to run. Our body is so amazing that the fact that we can even do what we do, with how we abuse our bodies. That's, to me, is how well and strong our bodies are. But again, they're not made forever. They're not indestructible, and we do have a way of beating ourselves up to the point where it's we can damage our body and live a very poor quality of life. So last time we left off, if I remember correctly, I think we left off at, we were talking about sorbates and polysorbate and potassium sorbate and nitrates and everything, and just kind of understanding the toxic chemicals that are in our food. The next one I want to talk about is one called vanillin. Most people hear vanillin, and yes, you think right away, oh, it's vanilla, right? And you think, oh, vanilla is a yummy flavor, it's good, and what can be harmful? But this is actually an artificial flavor of vanillin. This is made from petrochemicals of trace amounts and carries trace amounts of neurotoxins that are found in vanilla. So this is actually very toxic to us. A lot of times we just associate, because we don't have the education behind us, that we'll hear a specific word and it'll sound like something. We'll say, oh, that must be some fancy name for vanilla, or it might be something for this. And a lot of times we don't really realize that we're putting toxic chemicals into our body. And this one is very popular. This is in a lot of artificial candies. It's in a lot of artificial foods that are flavored. I don't like to buy anything that is artificial flavored, even things that are natural flavored now, because companies are smart. And this is something that we have to realize, is companies are smart, and they say, okay, well, the government's restricting this, but how can we reword this? How can we change this word so that we can put this ingredient in there in order for us to keep selling the product, because we want to make profit? And that's the way things are. So a lot of times now, even when you see natural flavor, that doesn't mean that it's actually fruit flavor, like 100% fruit flavor or vegetable flavor or whatever they use. A lot of times it's still these garbage type of things. So if you see vanillin in there, make sure that, and a lot of your milks, a lot of like your alternative milks and your creamers and everything have vanillin in this. So be cautious that you may want vanilla flavored things, but go spend the extra money. One of the things that I always tell people, and this is something that I'm sure you've already heard, either through me or by somebody else, is that, you can either pay a little bit more now or a lot later. And what does that mean? Yes, I know it sounds like that one commercial for the oil filters and all that stuff, but it's true. You can either spend a little bit more now on food, and I know food prices have gone up. It's really expensive. Eating out is just as expensive, or buying food now it's all the same price. So it doesn't matter if you eat out every day or if you buy from the grocery store. It works out to be actually the same price now. But if you don't spend a little bit more now, because cancer and diabetes and heart disease cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you've ever had surgery surgery before, it's tons of money, and not to mention medications, doctor visits, missing time off work, etc. All these different things that you got to undergo. The quality of life, you won't be able to work as long. You'll hope, all these things factor into this. So it may be that we're young now and we think that we're invincible and we think that we're not going to care. We're only going to care when all of a sudden it's too late. But our way of thinking has to change, because these chemicals and the things that we put in our body, sometimes it's not totally reversible, or sometimes it's going to take many years to reverse. And do you have the patience and do you have the time to reverse it? I know with my EBV, it's been very troubling and very trying for me. And the first 2 years was fine. I was like, okay, first 2 years is fine. It's a little annoying sitting here doing nothing, relying on people for rides to grocery stores and to do stuff. But now, all of a sudden, the last year, I got to admit, it's really mentally getting to me, because it's like my mind wants to go do stuff, but my body's not able to do anything. And so it's a marathon, because the EBV has been taken so long and so I'm trying to use this example because I want you guys to understand that it's not going to heal overnight. You may not care now, but it's not going to heal overnight. So if you've abused your body for 10 years, it's not going to be like, oh, let me take a few vitamins and change things, and in a year things are going to be back to health. No, you got to restore things at the cellular level. You got to rebuild the muscle tissue, all the little things that go down, and that takes a long time. Just like what's going on with me is, because the EBV wasn't caught, it ravaged a lot of my organs. And so it's the same idea, that now my body has to rebuild itself, and it's going to take many, many years for it to happen. And psychologically, emotionally, if you're not prepared for that, then that's another thing that you're going to have. So you got to remember that health and nutrition are all part of this collective idea. It's not just eating something and going to the gym. It's mentally, emotionally, and you got to be prepared for some of the consequences that you may not realize. So back to vanillin, and the reason I wanted to tell you guys that, because I really want to stress the choices that we're making. Some people, I know that you're not going to care. I get it. You don't care. You're going to die. You want to die whenever, and that's the way things are. But for those of you who are, think about the choices that you're making, because those choices here and there, even though they may be sporadic and stuff like that, could start adding up to long-term issues. So vanillin kills brain cells. It's been shown through studies that it kills brain cells. A lot of people have allergic reaction to it. We're going to get into things like soy and different things that people have allergic reactions to, but a lot of times we don't realize that we may have food allergies, or we may have an allergic reaction to something, and we don't know where it's coming from. I always tell people, just because you don't break out in hives, that doesn't mean you're not allergic to food, or doesn't mean you have an allergen to a specific chemical or an ingredient in there. A lot of times you may find it a little difficult to breathe. You may find that your skin is just kind of a little itchy. There may be many different ways that allergens do pop out. I know sometimes I'll be fine and I'll eat something and the ingredients seem to be clear, but all of a sudden my body has a reaction to something, and all of a sudden I find it hard to take a deep breath for a while, for a couple hours. And then as the food makes its way through, it may last maybe 6 hours, but the next day I'll be okay. And then I eat it again, the same thing. And then I have to figure out what in that product that I'm eating, or what in that food am I eating. And that's usually when we buy foods that are in bags and the middle aisles. But the vanillin is also considered addictive. There's a lot of chemicals, people, that are addicted to a lot of things, and a lot of times we don't realize that there are a lot of addictions to that. So I want you guys to understand that it's very toxic to the liver and kidneys. It's very toxic. The liver and kidneys do so much for our body. And I think those are two organs, because we always focus on the heart. But the liver and kidneys filter our blood, clean all the toxins out of us, resend everything back up into our body, and keep us healthy. I mean, you think of when we go out to a night of drinking, or when we go out abuse our body, we're in some place that's toxic. All the lungs, the kidneys, and the liver all filter all that stuff out. And so if we're constantly ingesting things that are that can hurt us, then we shorten our lifespan with the liver or kidneys. The next one I want to talk about is carrageenan. Carrageenan used to be in a lot of alternative milks. It's a red seaweed. It was used as a food thickener. It was a food additive, and what it did was thicken things. So if you ever made almond milk at home or oat milk is a little thicker, and you got to make it a specific way. Otherwise, it comes out really slimy and mucousy, and it just doesn't look good. It tastes fine, but some people just can't handle that. But almond milk comes out, and when they start adding all these different chemicals and different things like vitamin E to it, a lot of times it thins it out. So what they were doing was they were adding carrageenan to it, which is a red seaweed. And you think, well, hey, it's seaweed, right? Seaweed is very healthy for us. It gives us a lot of our chlorophyll and all that stuff. Yes, some seaweed, yes, but not all plants are healthy for us. Remember that just because it comes from the earth doesn't mean it's healthy for us. There's a lot of things that are toxic to us or animals and can kill us. And so these things have, we found over years, people really discovered and started doing research that one, the carrageenan had no nutritional value, and a lot of times led to gastrointestinal and ulceration issues and cancer lesions in people. And this was becoming a big problem because it was so prevalent in like a lot of your milk alternatives and a lot of different things that carrageenan, because people were thinking, oh, I'm going to go to Whole Foods and it's going to be really easy and I'm just going to trust whatever's in there. One, just because it's a health food store like Whole Foods or Sprouts, and I'm not knocking anything, but this is true, that not everything in there is safe. There is a lot of chemicals in there. There's GMO. I know that there's been people, I was in the fight with Whole Foods for a long time, making sure that they put labels on everything that's GMO. They lost that battle, that they said that they were going to do it, and still 5, 6, 7 years later, 8 years later, no, not everything that's labeled GMO is still labeled GMO. So just because it's Whole Foods and they market themselves, or Sprouts, or whatever's in your area, don't just automatically trust it, and just don't think, oh, because it's a seaweed or because it's this, that it's healthy for you. You really have to start educating yourself on what's healthy and what's not. So the soybean oil is next. Soy is one of the most, it's in everything now. When I became allergic to soy, when I had a food intolerance to soy, I realized that it's in everything. I mean, I would go and buy like chicken rice or chicken fried rice in a package from Whole Foods. It said organic, soybean oil. No matter what I bought, things that I would never even think have soy in it, all of a sudden now have soy in it. And it's like everything has soy. And it became like, wow, it's like, if I was allergic to just wheat or dairy or something, great. But it seems like a lot of companies are putting soybean oil. More than half of the soybeans that are being put into our food are genetically modified. And why does that make a difference? Because soybean by itself, yes, it has estrogenic properties, which means it produces more estrogen. And no, men, if you eat soy, that doesn't mean that you're going to start, feeling like a woman and everything like that. But what that does is, one, it starts to cause all sorts of issues because it's genetically modified. So it becomes instantly cancerous. It's carcinogenic. It has the properties, if you start eating it, it starts giving the body all sorts of issues. This can lead to things like thyroid problems, once our thyroid starts to be affected by what's going on, what ends up happening is that it starts to, our thyroid is an endocrine gland. We know that. It starts to affect our hormones. It starts to affect weight gain. It could lead to obesity. There are so many things, tiredness, fatigue. There's so many things that when our thyroid is not working properly, that we can have a slew of health problems. And this is because, and the way this does this is it prevents iodine from absorbing. We need iodine in our body to be healthy. And this is where things like table salt went terribly wrong, because we discovered in the early 1900s that the body needed iodine. For people who had thyroid issues, hey, iodine, we need iodine. So what they did was they started changing table salt and they started adding iodine to it. Well, now we realize that it's terrible for us. It's causing us all sorts of heart problems. It's causing all sorts of problems in our thyroid and our liver and everything. And people who eat table salt on a daily basis have a lot of health issues. And that's the reason why I say, Himalayan salt is the best salt. Yes, that salt will you can eat that, pretty sparingly, because it has over 72 nutrients that you need in there. But we start to see that all these things that we are putting into, we're trying to play around too much with Mother Nature, and we think that we're just going to start adding things and making GMOs and start changing the way nature is, and we're starting to see that the human body is like, no, people, this is not the way it is. I can eat soy, but I'm not going to eat GMO soy, because now that the structure of it changed, I can't use that, and because I can't use that, I'm going to try my best, because I'm a cell and I want to keep you alive, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to try my best to absorb this, and because I'm not getting the proper nutrients, because I'm not getting what I need, now all of a sudden the cells and everything start having issues, and over time we start to see this. And like I said, this is why so many people all of a sudden within the last maybe 20, 30 years, all of a sudden is booming, especially in the last 10 to 15 years, is booming with food allergens. I never had an issue. And yes, it was partly because of the EBV, but I was having these issues way before, and I didn't even know that. But wheat, soy, all these different dairy, all these things are, a lot of them, because we're genetically modifying or because they're not made for our bodies, we are having a lot of this. And so soy gives me a lot of digestive issues. If you want to find out what you're allergic to, I suggest a blood test. First of all, it's expensive, but there's a thorough blood test where they'll take 8 vials of blood, and they'll tell you exactly, they'll go through mostly every food in America, and they'll go through some common ones in other countries, and they'll tell you exactly what it is, the ones that you are the ones that you're allergic to. The other way you could do it is an elimination diet. Is on an empty stomach, take a soybean or take a piece of bread or take a piece of wheat or something and eat it. Wait an hour and see if you start having indigestion, gas, if your stomach starts to bloat. See how your body feels. That'll tell you right away if you have an intolerance to something. But soybean has high lectin, and that is hard to digest. And so when we have an intolerance, when we can't digest something, the body doesn't know what to do with it. So a lot of times it stores it as adipose tissue, which is fat. So you will gain fatty liver, you'll gain chronic inflammation. And again, our heart is always affected. Once inflammation starts in our body, our organs start to be affected right away. And this is something that we need to know. All right, guys, you know what? My timer, for some reason, in this new program isn't up to snuff. I don't know why it's not working. So I don't know how long, if it's commercial break, but we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back after these messages from I Am Evolution.
The human experience is changing, and consciousness is evolving into something higher than any of us could ever imagine. As we transform into more sentient beings, a new world of connected consciousness is taking place. Welcome to I Am Evolution, the movement in human development that transforms the human experience into a deeper consciousness through perspective and duality. Are you ready to be a part of the next stage in human evolution? Call I Am Evolution today to schedule your appointment at 561-318-0006. That's 561-318-0006. Or email us at iamevolution@protonmail.com.
All right, everybody, we are back. And if you're just joining us, you're here for the second half. Yes, I know if you're just joining us, our time schedule is all messed up. We had some technical issues earlier because of all those things that happened to my computer, but we got them fixed. So everything's up and running. So we have to understand what we're reading. And one of the things that we have to read for is animals in product. A lot of times people will go vegetarian or vegan and they don't realize what they're eating. And that, or maybe you eat meat, but you're trying to cut down and you're trying to understand. But there's one product that I find that is found in a lot of things, and that's gelatin. And gelatin a lot of times is a protein that is found in pigs and cows. It's basically like the skin and ligaments and tendons of cows and pigs, and this is something that pops in. One of the great things about gelatin, I don't mean Jello jigglers, all the stars in red. I mean pure gelatin. If you have joint issues, it's really effective if you take a package and do half a pack in the morning and a half a pack in the evening for many weeks and that. And what you do is you just put it in some water and take it down. So if you don't mind animal products, this is something that I just want to throw in there as like a little Easter egg. If you have inflammation of the joints, or if you have a hard time, maybe your pads are wearing down and you don't have a lot, it'll help rebuild that. It'll help lubricate your joints and everything like that. I found that out years ago when I used to have really achy joints, and a lot of times we ache because of inflammation, but I started noticing from all the years of sports, and for people that have no burster pads or anything in between, that gelatin help produce the lubrication and everything, so the skin. But this is something that I found to be very useful. But again, read the labels, because if you're trying to go vegan and you're trying to go or vegetarian, or you're trying to cut down on your meat or at least animal products and stuff, that is something that is found in there. The next couple things I want to talk about really quick are enriched and fortified. You'll see enriched flour or fortified wheat or whatever. And so what does that mean? It's very simple. What it means is that they take things out, like they take certain things out of whatever it is. So say like it's the flour, they take certain chemicals out of the flour, and then they change the structure, and then they add stuff in to make it supposedly healthy for you. So anything that like nowadays you're seeing, I don't drink cow's milk, but I see it all the time in cow's milk. They'll say, cow's milk with added stuff. Or like they'll say vitamin E in it, or you'll see something milk with, and you'll see, and your breads a lot of times are enriched and fortified, because what they're trying to do, the idea behind it was, well, since people eat this food, we're going to make it healthier, we're going to make them get more nutrients in it. But it's not all, it really didn't take that way, because again, most of the stuff that they put in there was synthetic, and as we talked about in the other two parts, synthetic really doesn't do too much for us. And so our body kind of rejected this, and this is something. So again, go back to more natural. If it says enriched and fortified, kind of stay away from it, because your body will reject it. The bleached, we'll see all the time. Bread is bleached. Bread is not supposed to be white. Even paper is bleached. Paper is not white. There are many things in our foods that are bleached, and they used to use bleach, straight bleach, to do it. Now they use potassium bromate and benzoyl peroxide to bleach things. But again, I stay away from things that are non-bleached. I don't care about color. I care about natural foods. If I'm going to eat some gluten-free, dairy-free bread or whatever, I don't want it bleached, because the point of me trying to at least eat somewhat healthy is not putting chemicals into my body that, hey, I'm not eating the wheat, but I'm putting chemicals in my body and still getting me sick anyways. So one of the next things I want to talk about is azodicarbonate, and I know I butcher that all the time. I've been, it's just one of my dyslexia things. See, now I'm stuttering. But what this is it's an industrial chemical, and it basically makes foam from plastic. This a lot of times is used as a dough conditioner and a whitening agent. Don't ask me why they would put something that's a chemical into our food. If you actually read and study, as we've said in part 2 of this show, a lot of the chemicals that are happening that are in your food, there's a lot of toxic chemicals in there. I mean, I don't want to eat food that has a toxic chemical that makes foam plastic. To me, that doesn't sound appetizing. If I'm gonna eat bread, or if I'm gonna eat some, something that I'm making that's like for doughy, and I'm trying to condition it, I don't want toxic chemicals in my thing. This one has been known to cause like things like respiratory issues, cardiovascular issues. It's even banned in Europe because it's carcinogenic, and it messes with our genes so bad that it's genotoxic. And this is just something that is very, very unhealthy for us. And so what I'll do is I'll put the name up on the screen. I know I butchered it. I've practiced it a million times, no matter how many times I try to say it. Even when I first learned about it, it was one of those that so you know how it goes. But my rule of thumb is this. And this is a good lesson, not just because I can't pronounce something because I'm dyslexic, but what it is that if you can't read it, if you can't pronounce the word, then don't buy it. If there's products that you're buying and food that you're buying, and it has things like I don't get, like when I even go buy French fries that are organic, I'll go look and I'll see about 50 ingredients in there, and I'm like, why doesn't it just say potato and sea salt or Himalayan salt? Why doesn't it just say that? It has like 1,000 ingredients. And the moment I can't read a word, or I don't know a word, I put that product back down. That's my rule of thumb. Why? Because more than likely, if you can't read a word or you don't know it, then it shouldn't be in there. Sometimes, yes, they do use the technical name for certain things, but I want to see things like if I'm buying French fries, I'm not going to go to McDonald's where McDonald's French fries has over 25 ingredients in fries. It should say fries and salt. That's it. Or fries and sea salt. That's it. That's all I want to see. If I'm going to buy something, I want to make sure I know exactly what's in there. The ingredients should be short, sweet, to the point, and that's what it needs to be. When it comes to label reading, things like that, I want to make sure that even when it says GMO verified label, when I'm reading a thing, I want to make sure that it is. So what I do is there's a lot of apps that are on your phone that you can go to, and you can scan the barcode on that product, and it'll tell you the company's reputation, if it's truly GMO verified, etc. And again, remember, they pay thousands of dollars to get these things. So they pay like $12,000 to get that little GMO verification label on there. That doesn't mean that it's true. Naked, Nestle company, this is one of the reasons why I don't buy Nestle products, is Naked. The juice drink Naked was very misleading. They had non-GMO, all this stuff, 100% juice, and people tested it and found out that it was GMO, that it wasn't 100%, that it was all these things that Naked didn't do, and there was lots of lawsuits. And I think I mentioned this earlier in one of the previous shows, but I was part of that lawsuit, and I think I ended up getting like 12 cents or $1.12 back, and I'm like, well, thank you. I spent a lot of money on your product. Thanks for that $1.12 back. But again, this is why it's so hard. If I'm gonna read something, if I'm gonna eat something, and I want to make sure, if I want my own juice, I'm going to try to figure out that these fruits and vegetables are as organic as possible. Of course, there's always never going to be 100%, that I can get it from a trustable company, and that I'm going to juice it myself because I know what's going in there. So this is something that I think that we really need to understand when it comes to that. All right, let's take a breath for a minute. Omega-369. We hear about omega-369, and omega-3 and 6 are essential. We have to have these. This means our body, anything that is essential, like an essential vitamin, essential mineral, it means that our body can't produce it. And so omega-3 and 6, our body cannot produce it. That means we have to eat it. And if we don't get it from our food, then we're not going to get it, and this is going to affect it. Omega-9 is a non-essential, so that doesn't mean that, no, we don't need it. we still need to ingest it, but our body produces it. And so we don't need to eat as much of it. We don't have to worry about it as much as something like that. But what does omega 3 and 6 do? Well, it's a structural support system. It's the body, and basically what it does is it supports the body's cell membranes, and it makes them more flexible. This is essential for the cells to function properly. In order for the cells to communicate properly, they need to be functioned properly. They need to make sure that they have the proper nutrients. And this is why omega 3 and 6 are so important, or omega 3, 6, 9 are so important for the body. We always hear omega 3 is for our heart health. Yes, it is for our heart health. We definitely need omega 3s. Yes, that is huge. We need, but it is also for our brain and eyes. We in our country, because we have such a high disorder of heart disease, we don't think about our other organs. We kind of put them to the waste. But what's nice about that is if I'm eating omegas 3 and 6, and I'm getting a lot of fish and tuna and salmon and different things. A lot of your seafoods have them. Flax seeds have them. Different things like that. Some of your nuts, like walnuts. If I'm eating that, then I don't have to worry about that, because a lot of times, and I tell people, if you're having an issue, let's say with your eyes, we always think, well, beta carotene, right? So let me eat some carrots. Let me get that beta carotene in it, so it can change, and so it can give what we need. Well, yeah, that's great. That's part of it. But we also don't understand that there's other nutrients in part of it. It's not like our eyes only need, vitamin A or beta carotene. It doesn't work like that. There are many nutrients that everything needs, and if we're lacking, so if we're having eye problems, we're having memory issues, we're having thought, there might be a nutrient there that you might be lacking, or your diet might be so poor that you might be lacking multiple nutrients. So that's what's great about omega 3s and 6s, is they kind of help a lot of your major functions with the brain and the heart and the eyes. I think that those, obviously all organs are important, but your heart obviously does a lot for you, and your heart, pumps nutrients all over the place and gives your brain. Your brain uses a lot of blood, and without that heart pumping, and so we have to be able to take care of ourselves in that way. I eat a lot of flax seeds. I make a lot of shakes, and when I was really doing all my stuff, I was really making I would always have ground flax in there, because and that's the important. Flaxseed has to be ground. I know I'm off on a tangent here, but flaxseed has to be ground. If you don't ground up flaxseed, it's going to do nothing for your body. It's going to go in and come back out. So make sure it's ground. But it's very important, because you can throw it in a smoothie. You can throw 1 tablespoon or teaspoon of flax in a smoothie and not even taste it. And be getting your nutrients every which way. So omega 6s, along with omega 3s, like I said, are important for cell membrane function and structures. There's supposedly a lot of effects, but a lot of times people don't understand. We don't really have a grasp on really what it does. But they're showing that omega 3s may help with, omega 6s may help with things like eczema, diabetes, or being diabetic, joints, arthritis, allergies, ADHDs, things like that, even osteoporosis. One of the things I always tell people, that one of the worst things we can do is, and the reason why I'm telling you this is because there's a lot of people that are that have osteoporosis, and having osteoporosis, a lot of times we think right away we need calcium. Yes, you need calcium, but you also need omega 3s and 6s, because the blood, it pumps and the nutrients and everything. But one of the things that people do is they take calcium supplements. And calcium supplements are they don't work well at all with the body. And so you take a lot of these calcium supplements thinking that you're helping your body get more calcium. And what it's really doing, same with cow's milk, what it's really doing, because the body doesn't recognize it. Remember, anything synthetic, anything our body doesn't have, even if the news and everybody's telling you need this, if our body's not meant to have it, what it's going to do is it's going to store it, and it's going to say, wow, I have too much calcium. Let me dump. And so it dumps all the calcium out. It'll dump everything out, and you'll end up with worse parts of osteoporosis and things. And people would be like, well, I'm taking my supplements, I'm drinking milk, taking calcium. And because it's not a real form for the body, it ends up worse. So this is why things like omega-369s, omega-3s and 6s are so important for our body, because we're so trained and conditioned that only one nutrient we need for a certain ailment, and that is not true. When I got into Oriental medicine, I realized how hard and how much it was where I was, where I was sitting there. I was like, well, I know a lot about health until I got into there. And I was humbled very quickly. And I realized that Americans are taught one problem, one solution, and that's it. And that is definitely not true. So please start trying to get yourself out of that way of thinking. There's so many ways you can tackle an issue inside your body without going directly for that one. I know it's easy to go on Google. And that's why, having a Google doctorate degree is a very dangerous thing, because there'll be a lot of people, they'll tell you to take one thing or a couple things, and it may not be the best for our body. It may exacerbate the problems. But where you can get omega-6s are a lot of your oils, your corn, peanuts, sunflower, and safflower. Safflower, sunflower, and peanut oil are very healthy. Corn oil is not. So I would not suggest that. But sunflower, peanut oil, and safflower oil is very healthy for you. Also, you can get it in your seeds and nuts. Hey, pumpkin season is coming up. Pumpkin seeds are very healthy for you. You should be eating them all year round, not just during Samhain. But sunflower seeds, I love sunflower seeds, especially when I was playing softball, doing tournaments. I would always be snacking on them. They would always have sea salt on them, would give me some electrolytes, give me, some of that protein that I need, plus give me my omega-369s. I would be juicing during that time. And man, those softball tournaments, people would be like, Miss Raina, how are you always, like, we've been playing 8 games in a row. How are you still energized when not barely sweating? Well, it's because of the nutrients that you constantly take. So don't underestimate these things, people. Yes, I know you can get things from meat and eggs and dairy. Eggs, I don't have a problem with. There's a lot of good nutrition, and I know you're going to say, well, what about the cholesterol, Miss Raina? Well, yes, the cholesterol cholesterol is not bad for you. We have an idea where cholesterol is bad. And if you listen to part 1 or 2, I don't remember what I said this in, but we need cholesterol for our thyroid and our hormones to function properly, and many different other things. We won't get into that, but it's not bad for you. What's bad for you is your triglycerides. So if you have high triglycerides, you will suffer a stroke or heart attack or some ailment. But if you have high cholesterol, that doesn't mean that there's never been someone with high cholesterol that has had a stroke or a heart attack or anything in that high. So we have to switch that around. So I want to make that clear. But meat, we know that in moderation, it's okay, because some meat warms the stomach. We need certain things for that. But dairy is very toxic for us, people. Dairy is extremely toxic to our lymphatic system. It causes inflammation and all sorts of digestive issues in our bodies. But anyways, guys, I need a break because I need some water, and we'll be right back after these messages from I Am Evolution.
The human experience is changing, and consciousness is evolving into something higher than any of us could ever imagine. As we transform into more sentient beings, a new world of connected consciousness is taking place. Welcome to I Am Evolution, the movement in human development that transforms the human experience into a deeper consciousness through perspective and duality. Are you ready to be a part of the next stage in human evolution? Call I Am Evolution today to schedule your appointment at 561-318-0006. That's 561-318-0006. Or email us at iamevolution@protonmail.com.
All right, everybody, we are back. And if you're just joining us, we are in the last part of the people, there are so many things, like I said, that we can go through, and I want to get a couple minerals in. I know we only got 15 minutes, and you guys can look up the omega-9s. Omega-9s are important because they boost mood. It boosts your mood, energy, metabolism. You can find it in things like almonds, cashews, pecans, a lot of your nuts, sunflowers, as well. And that's what I love about certain foods is they have it all together. And it just tastes well. But let's go into a couple minerals because I know we're short on time. And again, like I can spend probably 2 weeks talking to you guys about this stuff because to me it's exciting. To you guys, it might be a little bit like, okay, she's just going through information, but this is very essential for our health. Sometimes, being responsible for our lives, and that is going through the things that aren't always fun. It's not always stimulating here, going through a lot of stuff, but educating ourselves is understanding, why, is to help prepare us for, gain health. Let's talk about zinc. Zinc is obviously a naturally occurring trace mineral. It is most used for fighting bacteria or viruses. It helps grow the metabolism. As you know, we always hear about vitamin C helping us when we're sick. Yes, vitamin C does help us, but zinc is very powerful. I do when I get sick, I do boost up my vitamin C, but I make sure that my zinc is high on that. That I do a lot of zinc during that time. I always take it, and I'm not telling you again. Speak to your medical professionals before taking anything or going off anything, but I take a high amount of zinc. Even they always tell you to take no more than 40 milligrams. We're finding out now through a lot of research that you can take a lot more than that. I still wouldn't go over 100 unless if I was sick. I would maybe use 100 milligrams for maybe a week or two at best, and then I would cut down. Right now, I take 60 milligrams of zinc every single day for helping me fight my EBV and just anything, and it really kicks the lozenges. It really helps in so many ways, but this is an essential mineral because it helps with cellular metabolism. Like I just said, it helps with protein DNA synthesis. It helps with wound healing. If you're not healing in wounds and you don't have a disease like EBV or something, then you might be low on zinc. A lot of people don't have that correlation together. And if you're bruised easily, you're low in vitamin K. A lot of times zinc and vitamin K will go hand in hand. So if you get a bruise and it just stays around, a lot of times I tell people, well, start taking vitamin K supplements or maybe take a vitamin K cream. You can't go wrong with that. But again, talk to your professional but a vitamin K cream and rub it on the bruise, and you'll watch that in a couple of days that bruise will be gone. But zinc is very healthy for wound healing. It also helps with cell signaling, which is an idea where the cells communicate with each other, and it helps regulate hormones. I know we always think of, with hormones, we always have this idea, but we don't really realize that minerals and supplements and different things like these vitamins and minerals really do play a big part in that. Some of the places that you can get zinc without taking a supplement would be things like oysters and other seafoods. Blue crab is actually high in zinc. Beef, pork, turkey, pumpkin seed again, cheese. I know you like cheese, but again, that's dairy, so try to stay away from that as much as possible. Lentils and peanuts. Anything that we do, again, before, I know you're going to go online. I know you're going to hear this. You might go start doing your research, but always talk to someone before start taking it because, there is a drawback to taking too much zinc, just like there's and there can be some, ramifications with that. Magnesium is one that I love. This maintains health. Magnesium is so underrated. I love magnesium. I always know I'm low on magnesium when I start to grind my teeth or clench or have sore joint, like I just feel tight all over the place, or I start cramping up. For those of you who have cramps in legs, a lot of times you're low in magnesium. But this is something, and the reason why we cramp is because magnesium is needed for muscle contraction. In order for the muscles to contract and expand, magnesium that's its role to play in it. So that's why a lot of times you cramp, because magnesium is low. The muscles don't have what it needs to actually do their job, and it's usually when we're in bed resting, all of a sudden we go to stretch out, that's like, oh, the muscle can't do what it does, and boom, we're biting into our pillow in pain because of all that stuff. But the bone needs this, and a lot of times magnesium and calcium are needed. Vitamin D is needed for people with osteoporosis, people that have a lot of low calcium, low minerals and stuff like that. But magnesium is one that kind of plays into each other with vitamin D and calcium in order for bone strength to happen. So you could be, again, I don't suggest taking calcium supplements because of the talk we just had, but at the same time, I would suggest talking to your professional and figuring out how you can incorporate true calcium, like through your dark greens and vegetables and different things like that, and maybe take a magnesium supplement to help that calcium get in. But magnesium is great for the nerves too. This is, if you're having trouble with focus, again, we think of like things like ginkgo and omegas, the omegas that we just talked about. But also we have to think about that magnesium is help for the nerves to signal each other. This is something that we don't really that talked about too much. Let me see what else, because there's so many things I want to cover, and I think for the most part with magnesium, you can find magnesium in a lot of your foods: almonds, peanuts, cashews, again, pumpkin seed. Look at how many nutrients pumpkin seed has, and you'd be surprised. Pumpkin seed is very, very healthy for you. If you can find, some roasted pumpkin seed, like I know that Whole Foods has it with a little sea salt on it, and eat them throughout the year. That would be, very beneficial. But beans have a lot of it. Again, soy, even though we just talked about some of the drawbacks of soy. Brown rice, white potatoes, various meats, and different things like that. The two things I want to talk about really quick, because I know we only got a couple minutes before we have to go. And I want to reiterate this because I know there's a lot of people, and I grew up with this: drink milk, eat dairy, because it's by the dairy industry, and they make a lot of money off it. But milk is very toxic for you, and and of course anything that's dairy is usually produced by milk. And so I always, when I tell people this, people get grossed out, but it's the truth. Dairy or milk is made up of mucus, blood, pus, and water from a cow. Yeah, that's right. Mucus, blood, pus, and water from a cow. This is and so whenever you drink a glass of milk, you ever wonder why your throat is sticky afterwards? Well, that's because the mucus is now binded to your throat, and now you have mucus in there. And so why is that so toxic? Because as you're drinking and as your digestion, it's creating inflammation inside the body. Now, it's also because the lymphatic system is a manual system. You can only pump it by moving, and that now, most of us are sedentary in our lifestyle. We have all this mucus inside of us, and pus and blood, that's not supposed to be there. And our body did a great job of filtering it, but it still starts to stagnate inside our lymphatic system. It clogs the lymph nodes and doesn't allow the lymph nodes to do its job. And so what happens is we become toxic. And over time, we start to become really sick. And when we go do a blood test, they're not going to find anything. They're not going to say, oh yeah, your lymphatic system's clogged of mucus. They're going to say, no, you're normal. And then you're going to be really sick. This can lead to things like cancer, diabetes, heart issues, high blood pressure. So this is something that, that I really suggest that you stay away from. I know raw milk has a lot of nutrients that you do need to help you digest. But again, we're still not meant to drink another, especially cow's milk. Goat milk is the closest milk to our own milk that we're supposed to take. But again, we're human. We're not supposed to have those ideas. So just because it's on the shelf and just because we're told that it has all these different nutrients that we're supposed to eat, it doesn't mean it's healthy for us. The last thing I want to talk about before we go into it, because I have like artificial colors and dyes. I know when I was a kid, we always played with them, and they're in all our cereals and everything. If you're hyperactive, if you have attention span problems, don't eat anything with artificial dyes in it, because it messes with the brain function and it creates more hyperactivity. It's very cancerous to the body. There's so many things that are going on. The last thing that I want to talk about that I really want to stress, because this is in everybody's home, is the microwave. The microwave is highly bad for us. It is very, very bad for us. If you think about it, it is a microwave. That means it uses microradiation in order to move your food, in order to cook your food. And what that does is it throws radiation inside your food. And you ever wonder, if you ever take apart a microwave, it's insulated to make sure that the radiation doesn't get out. And we don't think about that because we're so used to convenience that we're like, oh, let me just throw it. And why? So besides the radiation, so every time you eat your food that's been cooked in a microwave, you're throwing radiation in your body, which is killing you. And not only is it killing you, but it also kills the food. So you could have a bowl, of the most healthiest food in the world, all fruits and vegetables, or all vegetables, carrots, celery, broccoli, whatever, and throw it in a microwave, and it's now dead food. And what do I mean by dead food is the radiation in there has killed the food, and so the nutrients are dead when you eat that. That's why microwave food tastes bland and boring, because it's dead. It's completely dead and it has radiation in it. So you could eat all the broccoli, carrots you want, but you will get no nutritional value in that anymore because it can't do that. So microwaves have a way of changing our food dynamics. And this is why a long time ago, and I'm glad that the microwave broke, because the only thing I used to use it for was a timer, but I have not used a microwave in over 25 years. I think it's like close to 30 years now. It's been a long time. I think the last time I used a microwave was when I was in high school. And once I found out about how deadly microwaves are and how was that, because it changes your heart rate, it can make you have all sorts of cancer. It creates cancer environment in the body. Once I realized that, and I could always taste it, I was always like, something's different in my food. Then all of a sudden I was like, you know what? Once I went back to cooking in a toaster oven and reheating things on food, totally changed my life forever. So if you have a microwave, stop using it, because you're not only killing your food, you're throwing radiation into your body and whoever else's body you're cooking for. Yes, you might be tired at work, you might be tired for this, but if you're putting this stuff in your body, you're not only getting yourself sick, you're setting your family up for sickness as well. All right, everybody, that's for tonight's show. I'm out of breath. I'm out. I'm tapping out, everybody. That's a lot for me. And I still have a lot of notes to go over. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoy this. Thank you so much for being a part of us for 8th season. We will see you guys in 2 weeks for season 9. As always, follow us on our Facebook at facebook.com/Transcendental Transformation. Our YouTube is the same. If you have any questions about the show tonight, email me at transcendentaltransformations@gmail.com. And if you have visit our website. Yeah, my mind is all over the place today. Visit my website at soulandspiritguide.com and sign up for our newsletter and get special VIP access to hidden shows and offers that we have when we have guests. Always remember to believe in yourself. And it's not our talents, or our abilities that See, I'm all over the place. Anyways, guys, good night.